grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. There is no peace among the stars, only an eternity of carnage and slaughter, and the laughter of thirsty thoughts.
So we're going to be talking about Warhammer 40,000. No. Okay, I'm taking this off. Okay, as promised, this is my Warhammer video that I promised about a week ago or so. I just want to give my thoughts on the Warhammer universe, how insane the lore gets, and pretty much all that. Last week I went to Canada, so I'm posting this video now. But I do apologize if I do make any lore inconsistencies, if I mispronounce anything. I'm not too well versed in the Warhammer, not as much as I am in Star Wars, but with the release of Space Marine 2, I figured this would be a great video to drop, because why not? The Warhammer hype is pretty much there. And yeah, let's talk about it now. Okay, so where do I begin? The Warhammer universe is insane. It makes the Star Wars universe look pathetic by comparison, because anything you think can happen has already happened and will happen. Now, the fact that Warhammer is pretty much our universe, but set thousands and thousands and thousands of years into our not so far distant future. Like in this future, we have this guy called the God Emperor of mankind. He's pretty much the guy who rules all of humanity, and without him, the thing that holds humanity together would essentially fracture into multiple fractures into multiple governments. Now, below the God Emperor, we have these guys called the Primarchs. Now, the Primarchs are the sons of the Emperor. Like, they're these super soldiers that control different aspects of the Imperium. And below those guys, we have the Adeptes, custodians. Yeah, they're pretty much like super soldiers, but not like on the Primarch levels. They're like worth 100 Space Marines. Now, below them we have the Space Marines. Now, the Space Marines are pretty much like the more iconic thing when it comes to Warhammer. They're like these jacked up super soldier humans. Think of them like Master Chief times 20. They're like these unstoppable warriors who are like super OP. If you played Warhammer, if you played Space Marine 2, then you know exactly what I'm talking about, as most of you watching this video probably have played the latest game. Yeah, they're pretty cool guys. There's different like segments of them. Like, there's different legions of them. You have the Death Guard, you have the Ultramarines, you have the Salamanders, you have the Raven Guard. I'm not too, like I said, I'm not too familiar with Warhammer, but there's so much behind them. And now below the Space Marines, I think you have different fragments. You have the Astra Militarum, you have the Adeptus Mechanicus, you have the Inquisition, you have all these other pseudo organizations within the Imperium of Man. Also, the thing that governs all of humanity is called the Imperium of Man. The Imperium of Man is pretty much like what unites humanity. If you're not a part of this group, you're pretty much a dirty alien, or you're pretty much a dirty cultist who doesn't belong and who wants to kill all of humanity. That's pretty much a mindset, like in this universe, what people have about aliens or anything that's not human. Like, if you're not human, you want to destroy humanity, or you want to like join the aliens and ruin humanity, and you want to destroy humanity's faith in the God Emperor. Yeah, it gets really confusing, so I'm not even going to bother explaining what that is. Now, let's move on to the aliens. The aliens, or the main aliens in this world universe, are pretty interesting. You have the Necrons, who are like these immortal robots who used to be like organic, but then transferred their souls into robot bodies, but not really, because they fought in the War of Heaven, which is pretty much when like these aliens fought gods, and then they were trapped in these immortal robot bodies. It gets really confusing. Then you have the Tyranids, which is pretty much like the Flood times 1,000. They're really scary, to be honest. They are terrifying. Think about like the bugs from Helldivers, combine them with the Flood, and that's pretty much the Tyranids. No need to explain. Then you have the Orcs. The Orcs are pretty much like spores, but if you kill them, they're just gonna come back stronger, and they have the power of imagination behind them. Pretty much anything they can think of will come to life. So if they think this like toy gun is gonna shoot actual bullets, it's gonna shoot actual bullets. They're very terrifying opponents. Then you have the Tau, probably my favorite alien race. They're pretty much like the Covenant, but not really, but kind of. They use mind control to control people, and yeah, that's just like the main. Oh, I forgot to mention, you have the Eldar. the Eldar are pretty much space elves, and there's two different versions of them. You have like the regular Eldar who are elves, and then you have the Dark Eldar who are a little bit more kinky versions of elves, to be honest. I'm not gonna get too much in that because I still don't know about them too well myself. And then for the following faction, you have Chaos. Now Chaos is probably one of the more interesting factions in my opinion in the realm of Warhammer. It's pretty much hell incarnate. If you thought think about it like this, the demons from Doom times 1,000, but with multiple different gods. Like gods, they have their own thing. There's gods of pleasure, there's gods of death, there's gods of war. There's four main ones. You got Slanesh, Zenich, Nurgle, and some other one I can't remember off the top of my head. If you guys know about it, let me know in the comments. But there's four of them. I named three. I can't name the four of them. There's also five if you technically want to count the God Emperor, but not really because he's his own thing. It gets really confusing. Also within Warhammer, there's like Psykers. Psykers are kind of like Force users from Star Wars, but a bit more unstable because they don't really have the ability to control their own power unless they're regulated. The thing about Warhammer is I can't really explain too much about it unless you actually know the story, unless you actually know the lore behind certain things, because Warhammer itself is one of those things that you actually want to play, you actually want to get into to actually enjoy it a bit more, because if you watch lore videos, it's not going to sound as cool. I mean, it is, but trying to explain it to other people is going to sound kind of confusing because there's so much lore within this universe. Like you have thousands and thousands of years of lore, because Warhammer 40k only covers 10,000 years of like current era, because you have the Age of Strife, the Golden Age of Humanity. You have all these cool eras. Then you have one called the War of Heaven, which takes place like in early like 40 billion years ago. There was like a war between aliens and gods that decided the future of the galaxy. It gets really, really insane. You want to know what the great thing about Warhammer 40k is? Like the best thing about it is the fact that you do not live there, because this is a universe unlike other universes you do not want to live in. You could live in the Halo universe and be pretty much fine. You could live in the Star Wars universe and be pretty much fine. You could live in the Helldiver universe and be pretty much fine. You could live in the Doom universe, although I wouldn't recommend that, but you could live there and be pretty much fine. Now the Warhammer universe, if you set foot upon it, you will not live. You will die pretty much instantly. Now Warhammer lore, like I said, gets very inconsistent. There's a lot of different eras, there's a lot of different lore aspects to it, but overall it's pretty cool. It actually started off as a tabletop game back in the early 80s, I believe, and then it's had like more tabletop games, miniatures, and then which eventually moved on to video games and all this sort of stuff. We're supposed to be getting a Warhammer TV show on Amazon starring Henry Cavill, but I haven't really heard too much about that quite yet. There's not really too much info, even though it's been like 2 to 3 years since it's been announced. But regardless, Warhammer is pretty much insane. If you don't know too much about it, I would say that's kind of good, but at the same time it's not, because if you want to enjoy some main stuff, I suggest go watch videos or actually play some of the games, because the games itself are pretty much fun. If you want to get the dumbed down version of what Warhammer is, I would recommend play Space Marine 2, as I've been getting some of my knowledge from it, as well as some videos across from it. But like I said, I can't really talk about Warhammer Universe or Warhammer lore too much, because there's a lot of things within it. The subjects are cool, the aliens are cool. It's very terrifying, because everything and anything in this universe wants to kill you. Like if you're human, aliens want to kill you, demons want to kill you, everything you think you can will want to kill you, infect you, do horrible things will do to it. And that's what makes this pretty much appealing, because like it's so cool, it's so fascinating, it's so disgusting. It is really, really cool. That's just my thoughts on the Warhammer universe. It's insane. There's a lot of cool factions within it. I did my best to try to explain a brief summary of what some things are. I probably didn't do the best video of it, but that's just my thoughts on the Warhammer universe. Anyways, if you guys know, if you played Space Marine 2, what's your favorite thing about the game? Is it a fun game? And if you know Warhammer, what is your favorite Space Marine chapter? Me personally, I kind of like the Salamanders, although the Ultramarines, they're pretty cool guys. Anyways, I'll catch you guys on my next one.